Back, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Hey, by the way, guys, this is pretty awesome. We've now gone over 30,000 YouTube subscribers.
What?
And if you haven't already, if you haven't already, or you have a friend who maybe hasn't gotten word about what we're doing here, our show, the entire network, the entire channel, please pass the word along. 30,000 YouTube subscribers. It's free. Just jump on, get in there, man. And we're just going to keep growing. This thing is, we're on like the entry level of what is going to be just a booming business. I can't emphasize that enough. So
yeah, baby.
Thank you to all of you who have subscribed, and we're going to keep this thing rolling, man. And we got you. We got you. We appreciate you. All right, a couple other things here, guys. This is interesting. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN reporting that the Eagles have already interviewed Jim Leonhard, who was formerly the DC at Wisconsin. I know, Gunnar, you follow close attention to the Wisconsin Badgers, but Jim also played more than a decade in the NFL as a safety. He's coached in the NFL. Like, this dude's done it all, and you're muted, B. He's really respected in both circles, both college and the NFL. Interesting name here, guys.
I mean, Jets, he was under Bolin. He played under Bolin, you know. So I mean, he can play, man. He played under one of the twins. What's his name?
Rob Ryan.
Rob Ryan. Yeah, he played under Rob Ryan.
Rex and Rob are the twins you're referring to, but yeah.
Both. I mean, he understands conceptually how to stop the run, even though he plays safety. I mean, where has he been since then? I don't know. Where was he at?
Wisconsin. So he was the DC there until they fired their head coach. If you remember, it was more of an offensive issue more than it was. Chris got fired.
Yeah,
Leonhard was the DC, and then when he was fired, he took over as the interim coach for the rest of the year. They blew everybody out when Luke Fickell came in, who was at Cincinnati. So that's where he was.
Well, Fickell asked him to stay, and he decided to move on.
Yeah.
I will say this about Jim Leonhard, because I watched that program extensively for years. Wisconsin was one of those Big Ten schools that were always competitive, but never got an abundance of 5-star talent. So you were left taking the 3-star, 2-star, sometimes 3.5-star talent to build your team around. And Jim Leonhard's defense ranked in the top 10 every year across the country. And a lot of times his defense was number 2 and number 3 in the country. His concept, they didn't give up a lot of points. They didn't give up a lot of yardage in a lot of games. Jim Leonhard knows defense. He was an outstanding player as a pro player as well. Now, can he translate? Jim Leonhard would be a good hire, I think. Could he get the same productivity at the NFL level? Don't know. I've seen a whole lot worse try and fail. Mm-hmm. They recycle all these defensive coaches who have failed time and time again. Jim Leonhard has a fresh approach to the game. I mean, Jim Leonhard made T.J. Edwards what he became.
Yes,
think about that.
Definitely. J.J.
Watt,
T.J.
Watt, all those guys he had up there. Jim Leonhard's an outstanding defensive mind. You know what? That's not a name we were looking at when we started talking about possibilities. Don't rule him out. I mean, the man can coach football. He can coach defense.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I'll be interested in. I mean, I haven't seen defensive. I haven't really bought onto the guy that came straight from college into being a defensive coordinator. I'm trying to think when the last time I heard of something. I know offensive coordinators have made the jump and become defensive coordinators, but I'm trying to think who's the last person I know that was a defensive coordinator, came from college and made that jump into a DC position.
Well, does it change your view that he played for a long time in the NFL? Does that make it? Is it a little bit smoother, or no? Does that not impact the way
No, not impactful. I just think it's easier to coach offense coming into the league as a coordinator as opposed to defense, because conceptually it's different, man. It's like a whole new different set of play selection that you go through. You mean it's a lot of read option quarterbacks, a lot of RPO quarterbacks in college football. Doesn't equate necessarily to the NFL, where it's a lot of drop back quarterbacks, conceptual schemes, understanding how to break things down. I don't know. I haven't heard anybody made that jump and was successful. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, if there's somebody in the
yeah, we'll think about it. Anybody in the chat wants to jump in on that? Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, Barrett. I will say this: if you look at it, we've heard Vance Joseph. We've already heard Leonhard. We've heard some other names bandied about on that side of the ball.
Yep.
We haven't heard nary a word on the offense. This thing's a lock that it's Brian.
I'm telling you, man.
Unless they're doing some kind of real covert mission here with the offensive side of the ball, it's Brian Johnson.
Wasn't Vance Joseph the guy who coached Hassan Reddick in Arizona, didn't know how to use him?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Derek. His track record is not really great. I started looking at it. If you go back, he did a nice job a while ago with the Texans as their D coordinator, but since then, it's not a lot of success as a coordinator or as a head coach, for what it's worth.
Yeah, it was worth a lot. I mean,
yeah. There's not much. I mean, he's more of an aggressor, which will appeal to some people, for sure, than what Gannon was. But yeah, I don't really love the notion of Vance Joseph personally.
I'm surprised we haven't heard the name Lovie Smith yet.
Right.
In terms of being a possible candidate, unless Lovie just doesn't want to do it now, after having the sour taste of being excommunicated out of Houston. He
might want to have a chill year, Derek, and just collect a check. I don't blame him.
It didn't work. It didn't work out for him in Illinois. He jumped to Houston. 1 year later, he's gone there. Some people out there, I don't want a Tampa 2 defense here. Yeah, well, you got a guy that knows the Tampa 2 defense inside and out. If you have the right personnel, the Tampa 2 defense is still applicable in today's NFL. But you got to have the right personnel, And with this being a team that will be rebuilding its defense, as I said last week, it is imperative you get a defensive coordinator sooner rather than later to get some input. What type of players do you need to run your type of defense? Whether it's mid to lower tier vets, because you can fill out a roster with mid to lower tier vets / rookies and have a decent defense if you have the right coordinator in there. But that D coordinator needs to have some input in terms of what you want to make his transition that much easier.
There's some great nuggets, and I got to give him credit. He always does an excellent job getting inside information and stuff you haven't heard yet or whatever. But Peter King's column today, Football Morning in America, is chock full of a lot of Super Bowl stuff and Eagles related notes, guys. So couple things. Let's just stay on the Gannon discussion for a minute here. There's a lot of juicy stuff. But one that really stands out. Well, first off, let me just say this. He's hired Nick Rallis, who was the Eagles linebackers coach, to be his defensive coordinator. He was a well-respected guy in the building and really highly thought of around the league. So he takes that gig. He's 29 years old. That's a young dude to get a defensive coordinator.
Well, that's what that and there lies, what I was saying about hiring in-house. He was one of the candidates that I thought, would have had an opportunity.
I agree.
Get an interview.
Barrett, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
He was an in-house candidate.
The only thing Rallis will do is run Jonathan Gannon's defense in Arizona. Whoever the D coordinator is will be under Gannon. It will be Gannon's concepts or philosophy. Excuse me, not concepts, philosophy.
Yeah.
Well, what defense do you say Gannon runs?
I don't know. Honestly, don't know. He doesn't run it. He doesn't run a concept, Barry. He runs philosophy.
Scheme. He doesn't run a scheme. Yeah, he's
you saw that philosophy work, didn't you, last week?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was still on the Gann wagon, and I still don't think he did a bad job.
I think he had a bad Super Bowl, but I think
they won in spite of him.
He had a bad second half of the Super Bowl.
But here's the thing, Derek. All right. So I hear a lot. I'm not saying you, but I hear from a lot of people that, of course, they did good. They had tons of talent, and they had a lot of talent.
They did.
He got the best out of everybody on that side of the ball. Brandon Graham had his best year, sack-wise at least.
Yep. We're playing less time. Yes.
Reddick had his best year.
Yes.
Yep.
Hargrave had his best year. TJ Edwards had his best year. Bradbury had his best year.
Yes.
Like, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, but we could go through it. Like, I don't think that's a coincidence that these guys collectively elevated their game to that level. I think he played a part of that. And I think people don't want to give him any kind of props. I get it. Like, we're all stung by the Super Bowl. But the guy was, in my opinion, a good coordinator.
I have been consistent in my gray area with Gannon all season long. And we had great fun going back and forth about the Gannon wagon. But I have never changed my perception of
No, you
him.
didn't. You didn't. You
No,
never all the way on.
You stay true to it.
You've been hanging on the side for a long time. But
yes,
say what you want to say, man. I know that offense was good, but y'all are acting like Gannon's defense was terrible. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm saying most people are acting like
it's gone to that extreme, I guess.
Right, like they're acting like, oh, they're glad he's gone. I'm not glad he's gone in that all actuality. In fact, I think he took his first year, he took lemons and made lemonade. This time he came into this year with the whole stand, eliminating the stand. And I think he held up pretty well considering this is his second year with those guys.
I've said that here's what I give him credit for. He put his guys in position to make plays.
That's his job.
Okay. It used to make my stomach hurt watching his Pro Bowl secondary play so passive against the pass. Number 3, I look at the volume of quarterbacks he played this season. Number 4, I looked at how many pours. It was like every week they were playing an offensive line that was missing 2-3 guys on their offensive line. They took advantage of the situation. He had a dominant defense. We agree on one thing. They had the best collection of overall defensive talent in the NFL, bar none. And we right or wrong?
Right.
Okay. They had the deepest rotation of defensive talent in the NFL, bar none.
Right.
We agreed on that.
Absolutely.
It used to make me cringe. The cornerback play would make me cringe every week, watching how he was showing respect to backup quarterbacks and marginal receivers instead of coming up and punching them in the mouth every week the way Kansas City played. You look at Spagnuolo, took a bunch of kids and played the same doggone way every week, knowing full well that they were going to get burned, they were going to go through growing pains. Did the same thing in the biggest game of the year in the Super Bowl. How many times did we see Kansas City's corners coming up playing press coverage on Pro Bowl wide receivers, 2 of which had 1,000 yards?
Yeah, Derek, you're right. I mean, but like a couple things. One, Patrick Mahomes does this to virtually everybody. Okay. And
I get that.
No, I'm just saying. And like I'm not talking about like Dak. That's a different tier. Okay. But the upper echelon guys usually play pretty well. That's why they're the greats.
Yeah.
So the notion that, oh my God, every great quarterback tears them up. Well, every great quarterback tears up a lot of teams.
Tears up everybody.
That's why they're great.
And the one thing I would say, like for everybody who was like blitz, well, he did that on one of those touchdowns in the Super Bowl, and it absolutely killed him. Like, for example, the second touchdown, remember the 2 plays where the Eagles got undressed, the Kadarius Toney and the Sky Moore. Okay. Which was awful. It was embarrassing on 1,000 levels. But the second one, the Eagles are in a 0 blitz. Okay. They rushed 7 guys on the play. So I'll just give you an example. They had 1,211 defensive snaps this year. That's the 8th time they went into 0 blitz. They only did it 8 times. Like, I'm just saying, the notion that he never does it, he's never aggressive, it's just not true.
Oh, I never said that. I never.
Let me say rarely, but not.
Yeah, I never said that. I said that if you look at who's the quarterback who carved him up, Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
Dak Prescott carved that defense up. You know why? Because they played the exact doggone same defense against Dallas that they did in the Super Bowl.
He didn't carve. Dak Prescott did not carve them up.
Dak carved. Come on, man. Seriously. CeeDee Lamb was running free all over the doggone field. Are you serious?
He beat him on a 3rd and 30. That play, he beat him on 3rd and 30.
It was more than that one play, Barrett. I'm not talking about that one. That play was a fluke. I'm not talking about one play.
Let's look at how many yards he had. How many yards did Dak have? I don't know. The stream will tell me. But I'm.
Are you talking about against the Eagles?
Yes.
I'll find it. I'll tell you in 1 second. Go ahead. Talk while I'll have it up in a minute.
He had a pretty good game, but it wasn't like he was just carving them up. I think he made a lot of plays. Like he should have been sacked on the one play by Vontae Maddox. He should have been sacked, and that went for a first down, and that would have changed how the drive went. He had a 3rd and 30 that, definitely changed how the game went. Yeah.
He was 27 of 35, 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick six.
Oh, that's a big day.
That's a big day.
That's
yes,
better than a sous chef. That's a master chef. You're
better
right.
Than what?
That wasn't a sous chef. That
hearing the tapping on the grill.
Dude, they played the same defense against Dallas that they played against Kansas City. Right. The same doggone defense.
Yeah, listen, I'm not.
Look, my fault.
Let's rewind the tape.
All right.
Oh man!
And believe me,
he didn't have a good day. He had a damn good day. Okay.
So I'll say this: I don't think he did not have a good Super Bowl.
I call him Emerald.
but real quick, this is the last thing I'll say. Yeah, right. You walk into any Philly cheesesteak place, you hear it on the grill. That's what that was. There was some chopping going on.
Oh my goodness.
He did not have a good Super Bowl, but in actuality, they gave him 24 points.
Right.
Jalen gives him one. Yeah. The other one, the ball's returned to the 4. Okay, and they scored 38. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not telling you it was good because it was 4 possessions in the second half, and it was touchdown, field goal, could have been a touchdown. I'm not telling you it was good. But Kansas City tends to do that when you're the number 1 scoring team to a lot of teams. He could have done a better job in the second half. But I also don't want to let the players off the hook either. I think we're letting the players off the hook a little too much too.
Yeah, but Rob, you cannot have that kind of talent, man, in corner and showing respect to margin. Look up and down at who they played all year, except for Minnesota. You can't be showing these people that kind of respect.
Yeah, true.
You can't.
True.
You got a dominant defense playing mediocre offenses, and you back there playing flag football. You can't. You cannot. You got to get up in their face. You got to make them respect you. Don't respect them.
Yeah.
And that just drove me nuts the entire season. That's why I went from being in the middle of the bandwagon to the back seat to hanging off the rail with my legs flapping in the wind to hanging off the side to back in the back seat again, because every week it was something different.
Yeah.
They got the turnovers, volume of turnovers. They 3rd most sacks in the history of the NFL. I'm giving Gannon credit for a number of things, but in the bigger scheme of things, his philosophy made me beat my head against the wall, because you have to adapt in big games. He never adapted in that Dallas game down in Dallas, and he never adapted in the Super Bowl. Never. I'm waiting for a change. How many times did he blitz? Now, I understand you blitz Patrick Mahomes, you're asking for problems. But, again, I can't get off of it. And I watched the game twice since the Super Bowl. I can't get off of this. Spagnuolo put a lot of trust in a bunch of young kids. He never deviated from what he was going. We talked about it all week. Spagnuolo's going to blitz. Doggone it, he did blitz. He put his kids on the island. They got burned. Do you think he changed from that? No, this is how we're going to this is the only way we can play Jalen Hurts. We got to how many times did we talk about after the Super Bowl, Jalen was running out under duress. They didn't get him. Now, the 2 sacks were fluke because he lost scrimmage, a yard behind the line of scrimmage. So not like they got him to the ground. But how many times was he under duress, either throwing the ball out of bounds, or throwing it off from his weak side instead of his strong side? That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I'm not arguing with that. Yeah,
Eagles had the better defense. Kansas City played the better overall game.
Yeah, it's the thing that drives you crazy about the loss in general. The Eagles had way more depth. They were a more talented team on paper. But
there's no way the Eagles should have lost that game. No way. Even with Jalen's miscue of fumbling that football, there's no way you let. I don't care if it is. I don't care if it's Tom Brady. I don't care if it's Patrick Mahomes. There's no way in a Super Bowl game a quarterback's supposed to complete 13 out of 14 passes in a half, and the only incompletion is a throwaway.
I'm just saying. Here's all I'll say.
I got to give him 14 points, though, man.
Yeah, that hurts too. But I don't know who they're going to end up hiring, and I'm sure they're going through this as we speak. But I'm just saying, careful what you wish for. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
We don't know if any of these candidates will be any better because they won't have the same collection of talent.
You're right about that.
The assessment we make next season will not be a fair assessment because the talent will look completely different compared to what we just witnessed this one moment in time in history.
Yeah.
Well,
The challenge for whoever gets this is a lot of new faces on that side.
Could be.
I mean,
that might be good for.
It might be not be the worst thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because he can take those guys and he can customize the defense wherever he wants to. Do
That's what I said. Whoever it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at that. If you look at the defense, they gave up 21, 22 points in the Super Bowl.
24 points.
24 points. Okay. 24 points in the Super Bowl. Those 14 points that were just given. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't ask Patrick Mahomes. You can't say that Patrick Mahomes not supposed to score. He's on the 5 going in.
I know that.
Come on, and then he got a freebie with Jalen. So that's 14 points that you take out. What was the score?
38-35.
Yeah.
Well, you could say 27 because the kicker hit one off the uprights. It could have been 27 points.
Right. But
they walked down the field and could have punched, but it had an additional 3.
No, that's what I pointed out. They could have
been the Eagles still scored. The Eagles still scored 35 points.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You should be able to win with 35 points.
Agreed.
Your coordinator let you down on defense. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
he let you down.
I think that, look, I really think that Gannon absolutely, but there's blame everywhere on this.
Yes.
Like,
if you got man
the ball,
I agree.
Put it like this, on zero blitz.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to know they got a master out there. They put zero blitz, the second touchdown to Elijah Moore. On that play, they were lined up. They were lined up in the wrong formation. You know what I'm saying? To run the play. He couldn't run it. So what does he do? What does the quarterback do? Patrick Mahomes says, "All right, I want you to run the jet motion."
Yeah, Kelsey was lined up wrong.
So he said, "I want you to run it instead of on the other side."
Mm-hmm.
That's just being not out coached. That's just the quarterback being the man.
The other thing, the other observation in which was great in Peter's story was Darius Slay on the one just gets lazy on it.
Yeah,
he's lackadaisical. How are you lackadaisical in a freaking Super Bowl?
He's talking and looking at the other side, at the other side instead of watching that man. You got
he moved inside. When the dude went in motion, he moved inside doing this. Not paying attention to the man.
That's on you. That's not on Gannon. That's on Darius.
The worst thing about that, he has him man to man.
Yes,
that's your man. So it don't make a difference if he goes to the sideline and he wants a Gatorade. Slay should have been handing him the Gatorade, but instead he's playing lax. He's talking to the other side instead of watching his man. When you got his man, you should be following whatever he does. And he would pay attention more to what he wanted to convey to the other side instead of watching this guy. Mm-hmm. If he had just played man to man.
Well, you say the same thing about Maddox on the other side, on the other touchdown.
Exactly.
Yeah. Maddox goes in motion, stops between the tackle and the DN. He's looking inside at the ball snap. As soon as the ball snap, it's over. It's too late. You got caught. We haven't seen Maddox do that all year. All of a sudden, he's looking inside on this play. You just saw it happen on the other side. That's a lack of, number one, focus. Number two, did you have a discussion on the sideline? Did you talk about it on the sideline? I don't think they talked about it. They might have talked about it amongst themselves. But I don't think your defensive coordinator calls, all right, dude, you huddle up with these dudes. You should know better than this. Even if they didn't run the same play to the opposite side, which is egregious enough, there should have been a discussion after the first time about how we're going to scheme this if they got inside the 5 again the next time. Lo and behold, the next doggone series.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Agreed. There's no question. I completely agree with you on that.
I'm done for the day. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
I want to hit you guys with a couple other things regarding just NFL, whatever. This is the kind of thing, and I know they are Teflon. Like, it doesn't matter what they do. The NFL is just a juggernaut, and everybody just gets run over. Okay? I get it. But for them to come out with a statement saying that State Farm Field, which is where they played the Super Bowl in Arizona, the surface met required standards.
It's a joke.
Is an absolute disgrace. And you know what it is more than anything else? It's an insult.
Yes.
It's an insult to the fans. It's an insult to media. It's an insult to anybody who observes this league who knew better. However you feel about the teams that were playing, you don't want your grandest of stages being some quagmire where guys are falling all over the place. I would have more respect if they said, you know what? Best laid plans. Like, we did everything we thought was right. It turns out X, Y, and Z happened, and we're working on whatever we can do to correct this so it doesn't happen again. Then I'm saying, okay, I don't like it, but at least you're owning it.
Yes.
They don't have the decency to own this, and you're going to insult us with that statement? Come on, man.
It's the biggest insult to your multi-million-dollar players who play the game at the highest level, who generate your fan base. That's an insult, direct insult to the players by basically saying, they're good to us. But if somebody had torn up a knee or an ankle or something like that, I'd love to see how they scramble behind that. But because everybody walked off the field unscathed, hey, it was okay with us. You sat there and watched. Your commissioner sat there in a private box and watched that mess. You mean to tell me that's the best thing that he can come out of their mouths is that it looks fine to us? You had an ice rink out there, basically. Mm-hmm. You put the two best teams in football at a severe deficit and ran them out there potentially high risk field for 60 minutes of your biggest spectacle of the season. And the only thing you can say is, even if you didn't believe it, all you had to come out and say was, it's something we'll look into. You couldn't even say that. Yeah.
I mean, that is just common courtesy, honest to God. Like it's the least you could do is own up to it instead of some met the standards. What's the standard? How low is that bar? I mean, honest to God, let's just throw them into, like mud wrestling at this point.
That tells me you don't care about the players.
No,
you got what you wanted. You don't care about the player. You invested in this new turf, this new innovative turf, Tahoma 31 turf. And it's all you cared about. You cared about an $800,000 playing surface more than you did $1 billion worth of athletes playing out in the football field.
Yeah.
And you wonder why. And you wonder why the Players Association hates the league office.
Right. Yeah. And you want to hear the kicker? Guess what surface they're playing on next year in the Super Bowl?
Don't tell me Tahoma 31.
The same stuff. They're playing on the same turf, the rye grass. Except it's in Vegas next year.
Oh my goodness.
It's the same surface.
I thought Vegas was an indoor.
It is. So is Arizona.
It's the same.
But it rolls out.
Yeah, it's the same stuff. So that's a major problem. And for that, and I guarantee you, behind the scenes, they're scrambling. They're investigating and trying to figure this out. But that's some irony right there that you're telling everybody that that's fine. And even George Tolman's like backing away from it. The turf god, the sod god they call him. He's backing away from this, saying, "Hey, Wednesday, what I left was fine." They're implying, whether it was the paint that they put on the field or Rihanna's performance and the way the field was dug up, whatever. Here's the other thing that was interesting that I read in that Peter King story, and I tell everybody to check it out when you get some time. So it was unseasonably cold in Phoenix during Super Bowl week. They take that stuff outside. It sits outside.
Yep.
That lends to condensation when it's cold. Like, how it is. You walk outside here and you get frost on the ground. So they didn't do a good enough job drying it out. Also, on top of everything else. Like, how does this happen? There should be a team just in charge of that. No?
Well,
a grounds crew.
Yeah. 800,000. 800,000. Come on, man.
It's a lot of bread, man.
Bro, and they could have gotten expert opinions from places like Chicago, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, that deal with these type of surfaces all the time.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's no stadium that gets more traffic than the Steelers Stadium every year because they play high school football on it and they play the college football on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're used to having those type of conditions. You know what I'm saying? So
you don't see their players slipping around.
Right. I'm not crying over spilt milk, but it definitely hurt the pass rush of our guys because they couldn't turn the corner. They were sliding, slipping. And none of them made any excuses. Because they said, look, we played on the same surface they did. That's all they've said.
The only thing Nega Reddick said it was the worst surface I ever played on. And everybody agreed in unison.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Because both teams were slipping and sliding like you were watching the Ice Capades.
Yeah.
And the Eagles, again, they made no excuses.
We don't do that. We're not doing that.
They basically, from Howie Roseman to the head coach, hey, both teams played on the same field.
Yep.
That's all you heard.
Even the coordinators on their way out didn't say anything.
Nope.
Nobody made any
Nope.
excuses. But so
Well,
Yeah, it was Jonathan Gannon's problem now.
well, you
Yeah.
know, you read the article. I read the article you gave me. You know, he can remember Kelsey telling Tony, "Hey, man, make sure you take your time on this route," because he slipped in a route in practice earlier that week. Tony did it when Kadarius Toney did it. He ran the same play, but then he slipped on it on his way out in the motion. He slipped on it. He said, rather than slip, take your time and go through it. So
yeah, that's Kelsey was telling him. Yeah, just stay under control. Stay under control, because they knew that. That's amazing. It's amazing that was even a thing, you know, in a Super Bowl. So, all right, we're going to come back, guys. We're going to get into timelines and how critical it is to get this thing locked up with Jalen Hurts.
Yes,
in a quick manner, because everything is upon us, man, in terms of like transition tag, franchise tag, combine, free agency, draft. Everything is right here. So we'll get into all those kind of things, and we'll do a little stay go on the defensive side of the ball. Who stays, who goes? Yeah, Bear.
Is this President's Day?
It is.
Yes, it is.
Happy President's Day, everyone.
Happy President's Day. Celebrating some of the.
You want me to sing the national anthem for you?
No thanks.
Please
Okay.
don't do that. But
Okay.
yes, we do salute all
What?
of those who have.
What?
Should we have a Gunner singing segment? I think we should do that.
No, no, 30-minute sing is it? No, that's
Now
not
30's a lot, but you killed it. The what song did you sing? You did. What was everybody? What did they want you to do? You remember when you sang that? Man,
the
what
first
song
one I sang was
What kind of fool am I?
No, what you won't do. I sang. Oh my goodness, what's his name? The Christmas song.
Oh yeah,
Nat
White
King
Christmas.
Cole.
White Christmas, Nat King Cole. Yeah. You did something else though.
And I
too.
did What You Won't Do for Love, but his name is Caldwell.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, can't think of his first name now. Dang it.
And that was sampled. That's been sampled a million times. That song. All right, let's get a timeout. We'll come back and we will dig into the Jalen Hurts immediacy of this deal and how it all shakes out. We'll give you the timelines too, and do a little stay go on the defensive side of the ball. He's Derek. He's Barrett. I'm Rob. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Time to tell you about Pro Action Restoration. Yeah, Pro Action Restoration is a lifeline, is a safety blanket, if you will. If you have a home, you have a business, you have a property you own, and you go through the inconvenience of water, of fire, of smoke, mold damage, you name it, to any property that you own, they're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I can tell you this from personal experience because it happened at my parents' house. There was a finished basement. They had water damage downstairs. It was flooded. And Pro Action was right out there on a Saturday. They cleaned it up. The crew was professional. The price was reasonable. Pro Action Restoration is licensed, bonded, fully insured, and they've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So again, it could be water, could be fire, could be smoke, could be mold remediation. You name it, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or you can reach out to them online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.